Hey, so today we're going to do this in true Canadian fashion. Some horns in one hand, raccoon in the other. I'll tell you about this little guy in another video. But what we're here for today is, what if I told you that the biggest myth in buying land is that you need the bank? Seriously, what if there was a loophole? What if you could buy land using the seller's money instead of yours? What if I told you that people have been doing this for a very long time and they've been capitalizing on it and nobody even knows, or few people know? What if I told you you could do this with very little money down, or no money down for that matter? I know it sounds a little crazy, but the strategy will put you in the driver's seat. And by the end of this video, I'll teach you how you can be a landowner. And at the very end of this video, I'll tell you the biggest untold secret to making this all a reality and making this happen. Right. Forget about everything that you know about buying property. Forget about the mountains of paperwork and loopholes that you have to jump through in order to satisfy them. The impossible credit score requirements and the massive down payments that you have to make in order to make a piece of earth your very own. It doesn't have to be just a dream. The truth is, that same person who's trying to sell you that piece of land can also be the one that finances it for you. It's called owner financing, and it's the most single overlooked secret to buying a piece of land and unlocking deals that most people think are impossible. I have personally used this to buy a piece of land that I didn't qualify for from the bank. So today, I'm going to pull back that curtain and I'm going to explain to you how and why it works. Let's be real for a second. The current way of buying land just is simply broken for most people. You find that perfect piece of land, you're pumped. You can already see your future and where this is going to be and where that's going to be and how you're going to do this. And then, bam, reality smacks you in the face. You walked into the bank and they look at this raw piece of land and they see this incredible risk. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the answer is no. That's exactly what happened to me. And in my case, their response was, there's no structures on this piece of land, and therefore we can't mortgage it. And if they do, they're going to ask you for such a high down payment that it's going to put it out of your reach anyway. They claim there's no house on it, so there's no collateral. They pick apart your income, and if you are a freelancer, if you are an independent contractor, if you own your own business, or just simply have anything but the perfect job, they just simply start sweating in their seat. The underwriting process can drag on for months. The uncertainty, the request for more documents, only for them to just simply say no at the end of the day. It's a frustrating, soul-crushing process that just keeps so many people and so many aspiring landowners out of the picture. And this is the wall that most people run into. And this is where most people quit. But it really doesn't have to be that way. There is a loophole. There's a better way. This is where that secret weapon comes in. It's called seller financing or owner financing. And it completely flips the script. The concept actually couldn't be any simpler. And instead of you having to go and beg the bank for money, the seller becomes your bank. You make your payments directly to the seller on agreed upon terms, time, amounts, just like a regular mortgage, but often in a much shorter timeline. Sometimes 5 years, 10 years, or even possibly the same timeline the bank would give you, 30. Think about it. The seller has one goal in mind, to sell his land. You as a buyer have one thing in mind, to buy a piece of land. Owner financing builds that bridge between you and the seller. You get to cut out the middleman. You get to cut out the bank. You get to cut out that slow, dragged on process. This creates a complete win-win situation. You get the land you want. The seller gets to sell the land he has. Everybody wins. And you get into that piece of property that you otherwise couldn't afford or couldn't qualify for. The seller makes a sale. He gets a steady income coming in every month. It's a completely legitimate, legally binding, powerful tool that puts you back in control. This is the first question I always get. It sounds a little too good to be true, right? Why wouldn't the seller just demand all the money up front? Well, there's actually a few compelling reasons why this isn't a good idea, and why the seller probably won't agree to this, but actually prefer the monthly payments. First of all, it opens up a potential new clientele for the seller that otherwise couldn't qualify. If you think about it, if I couldn't get qualified because there's no structure on the property, a lot of people can't get qualified for the same reasons. By doing owner financing, that seller now has access to all these people and a whole pool of potential buyers that he can now sell it to. This is a huge advantage to the seller in the market, especially if a piece of land has been sitting for a long period of time. And that's a key thing right there. Secondly, the seller can often ask just a little bit more for that piece of land, because a buyer that needs that flexibility is often willing to pay that little bit more for that convenience. And you got to remember, that seller isn't selling you just a piece of land. He's also selling you a solution. The third thing is the seller gets slow monthly payments rather than one big lump sum. And at the end of the tax year, that one big lump sum, taxes have to be paid on that. That seller gets a reliable monthly income, and it turns that property into a money-making machine. And the interest that they're going to earn from you is greater than the interest that they would earn if they had taken that money and put it in the bank. And finally, there's some other tax advantages. Slow monthly payments over a few years. Sellers can defer those interest payments rather than getting hit with one huge tax bill. So for all of these reasons, bringing a smart owner financing offer to the table can be an incredibly good thing for the seller. So how do we actually pull this off? Well, let's break that down. So you can't just drive around looking for signs on the side of the road that says owner financing available, because you know what? You're not going to find it. You have to be a little bit of a detective. You have to do your homework. Start for hunting for property that has been on the market for a long time. Look for places that are on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace, something that says for sale by owner. Viewpoint's another good place to start looking. And so are, old school classifieds in your newspaper. Sellers that are handling things by themselves are usually way more open to offers like this. Like I said before, the other thing you want to watch for is how long it's been on the market. If it's been on the market for months or years, that seller's probably a little bit more motivated than somebody that just posted one a few days ago. They'll be a little bit more open to the offer or creative idea of doing some seller financing. You could always talk to a real estate agent as well, because, you know, some of them are a little bit more creative. Some of them, you know, really actually kind of give a shit. And they might be interested in helping you out or helping find MLS listings that, you know, the buyer just might be interested, and they might reach out to them on your behalf. And this is where the creativity and the fun really begins, because when you're dealing with a real estate agent, the only real thing that you have to negotiate with is the price that you're buying it for. When you're dealing with owner financing, everything seems to be on the table. You can talk to them about a whole lot of other things. I'll get to that in just a minute. The purchase price, yeah, there's probably going to be a little bit of flexibility there, but remember, they kind of really are helping you, so there's not going to be a little bit of wiggle room there, or not as much as you think there might be. Unlike dealing with a bank, the down payment is usually 30%. When you're dealing with owner financing, well, that could be anything. That could be zero, that could be $1,000, 5%, 10%. That is negotiable. You always want to try to put a down payment down, because it tells that seller, hey, you know what, I'm motivated, I'm interested, and I'm not going to screw this up. It takes a little bit more risk out of the seller as well, because if something does go wrong, they've always got something to show for it at the end of the day. Their interest rate, well, that's negotiable. A lot of the times they're going to ask for something just slightly higher than what the bank is offering, only because they're taking the risk, not the bank. And let's face it, they don't have as much money as the bank does. The term of the lease or the financing, that is negotiable. Most financing at a bank is 25, 30 years, but you can negotiate that. And you can turn this into a 5-year lease or a 10-year lease. Or, if they're willing, 25. When it comes to actually dealing with the lease, do yourself a favor, get a lawyer to look at it, because a handshake deal is just a recipe for disaster. You want no part of that. You want to know that at the end of the day, your ass is covered, the seller's ass is covered, and you both understand what the fair terms are, and you both know what to expect from each other. That is key, key, key. That promissory note is going to define your interest rate, your terms, your property lines, all of it. When you get a lawyer involved, they're also going to look at things like making sure there are no liens on the land that you're going to get stuck with at the end. You're going to make sure that at the end of your lease, there's no lump sum payment that you have to pay. It just makes an all-around more secure deal for both of you. Your lawyer is also going to look into his mortgage and make sure there isn't a due on sale clause. It means that the entire mortgage needs to be paid the second it's signed over to you, and you're going to end up being responsible for the remainder. But your lawyer is going to discover all of those things for you, figure it all out, and keep you safe. That's his job. Hang tight for just a minute, and I will tell you the biggest secret yet to finding the land that you want. But if you find this video is helping you at all, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and send me a comment. Let me know. Have you heard of this before? Have you done this before? Is this something that has any interest in the comments? Feel free to let me know what your roadblocks are, how your experience with the bank went. So to sum this up, the dream of owning your little slice of the earth is not out of the question. You can do this. You can get that raw land. You can start that tiny farm. And here's the secret. that's going to get you a piece of land that nobody even knows is for sale yet. And in some cases, below market value. So get in your car, go for a drive, get down those old dirt back roads, take a look around, go into the area that you think that you want to live in, and just explore. What you're looking for are pieces of land that have old piles of logs sitting right up along the edge of the road. You're looking for land that may be on an old dirt road or an old logging trail, something, but look for those pieces of log. Look for those log piles. That's key. When you find those logs, that's what you want to know. You want to know who owns that piece of land. Who put those there? Stop, talk to the neighbors, ask questions. Be the detective. Find out who the lumberjack is. Find out who the logger is. Find out who's in charge of the operation that's happening here. Find out all the information you can. That's the man you want to know. And I'll tell you why. You want his land. He's a lumberjack. This man has large parcels of land. This man has lots of these large parcels of land scattered all over the place. All he's interested in is harvesting the trees that are out there, those big, big trees. If he's a good lumberjack or runs his operation properly, he's going to be cutting those trees very selectively, which is going to leave a lot of like what you see behind me. And that's a good thing. But this man, once he's harvested the trees off that lot is actually no good to him anymore. He's got no interest. It's not making him any money. At this point, it's nothing but a tax that he has to pay at the end of the year. He doesn't want it anymore, and he's going to be interested in unloading it so that he can go buy more land. This man probably has 20 or 30 20-acre lots scattered across your county. And the best part about this is if he's been in there with his machinery, there's probably paths already cut. He's got to get the machinery in there. So there's a path off the road into that land. So basically your driveway's already done. Now, the best part about it is, remember when I said everything was negotiable? Think about it. This man has the machinery. He has the equipment. And with everything being negotiable, so is that driveway, if it's not already there. So is a path halfway into the bush, if it's not already there. That's negotiable. And for him to take his machines and build you a driveway or build you a path, I mean, it may not be perfect. It may not be, completely stone covered, but at least it's clear. The trees are out of the way and it's flat. You've got half this already beat. So he's the guy you want to know. He's the guy you want to become friends with. And I'll tell you, that's exactly how we found our piece of land. I have 20 acres of land. My driveway's already in. There's already a big clearing pad in place so that I could roll in a tiny home or a trailer and I could set up camp there. It's already there. And he had multiple pieces of land for me to pick from with all the same conditions. It's a win-win all the way around. And your real estate agents don't even know about it yet. And the bank doesn't need to know about it at all. Anyway, hope you found this video enjoyable. Hope you learned something. And we'll see you on the next one.